we can start. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second clustering event, or the second clustering event of ENVISION project. We name it Solutions to Support the Current and Future Needs of Common Agricultural Policy Monitoring and Agricultural Sustainability in general. And we co-organize it together with Agribit, Callisto, Space for Green, and VTGEOS project. So we're 5 here Horizon projects that we are gathered together to present our tangible outcomes. My name is Vasilis Pitadakis. I'm working for the management of ENVISION project exploitation planning. And actually, with this second clustering event, we want to follow and expand the connection among European projects dealing with Earth observation technologies for monitoring farm management activities with regards to sustainability in compliance with the CAP towards further activating collaboration and complementarity. As most of the projects are in the finalization phase, it is very important to highlight tangible outcomes in respect to services and best practices delivered and assessed also through these projects, keeping, of course, in sight to future actions, vision, and process. So that's why we're also having together with us EuroGeo and the presentation by EuroGeo at the end of our meeting today. We have 3 parts in this clustering meeting. First, we have an introduction from the various projects. Then we have a closer look into the tangible outcomes of these projects. And finally, we conclude with looking into the future of Earth observation technology for CAP and agriculture. So we can start, but first of all, let me first start with a few housekeeping things to have in mind. The event is being recorded. And for our speakers, I would like to say that a few minutes before your time ends, I will let you know so that we try to keep the time schedule as planned. So 1 minute before 5 minutes presentation, I will make you a note, and 2 minutes before the 10 minutes presentation. I would like all speakers to have your cameras on if possible during the time of your session. And for comments and questions, we can use the chat so we can provide replies during the event or send them via email. I must say that we are honored to have you here with us today, and we can start by, and I am inviting Ifigenia Maria Tsutia to take the floor first. And please, Ifigenia, go ahead.
Good morning to everyone. I am Ifigenia Maria Tsutia from Agraps, project manager from Agraps, and I'm here on behalf of the ENVISION project in order to present you a little bit an overview of our project. Sorry, let me share my screen. Actually, this is not the project, but yeah. Okay, the ENVISION project, the ENVISION solutions. We come up with this idea after the end of our first project that was basically the first project that has been implemented with regards to the Common Agricultural Policy. And we identified that there are numerous obstacles, burdens that affect both farmers and paying agencies and certification bodies. So from the side of the paying agencies and the certification bodies, we had identified that there are, due to the large number of rules that they have to observe and the many field parcels that have been monitored, unfortunately, they had only a subset of these farming practices. And they were obliged to have on field visits only 5%. On the other hand, and many times a lack of evidence. On the other hand, farmers have to be obliged with be compliant with a large number of rules, and they have to handle inspectors' impartiality. So all of this could conclude it to high costs and time-consuming efforts, activities. So we come up with an idea. We name it a complete system rethinking in order to develop methodologies, services, products, and solutions that could combine several data sources and technologies, innovative technologies that could conclude it to tangible results in order to help both sides, and farmers and paying agencies and certification bodies. We used earth observation technologies. We used machine learning. We used several other indices, and of course, we introduced the data cube technology into our project. So the services that we offer through ENVISION are numerous, but let's say that the most they are more than this, than you can see here. Since we started with this, the cultivated crop time up, soil organic carbon, organic farming, grassland mowing, plowing, soil erosion. But throughout our project, we have identified that some products, let's say, would be important to be included in our project. So these solutions could be offered through a web application for the paying agencies, a mobile application for the farmers, and an add-on development tool that will be used from the developers and third parties in order to develop services on top of what we have already offered. This tool will be tested and used through the hackathon, what we aim to organize in the following months. So with regards to the platform, we have gone through a user requirement phase, and we have identified that the platform is the paying agencies, what they need basically is a platform in order to visualize the services, and will be a secondary mean of handling the data. So what we have developed is basically a two-screen platform, a user-friendly platform, in order for them to receive the results from the services that we offer. On the other hand, we have developed a mobile application that is quite useful for the farmers and the inspectors from the paying agencies and the certification bodies. And we offer exactly the same functionalities that we offer for the paying agencies, plus a calendar that they can register actions that they have to perform into the field. So, the benefits that we have identified from our project is that through the ENVISION services, the ENVISION solutions, the farmers can receive more personalized guidance. They can boost their performance, and in order to avoid penalties, and they can be, let's say, they can be sure that the processes that they have been followed from both sides are quite transparent. On the other hand, the paying agencies and the certification bodies are able to perform more targeted on-field inspections. They can continuously monitoring the entire area of interest, and they can perform remotely automated checks, something that it's going to be obligatory from the following year. So this concluded to reduction of cost and time, and of course to operational and administrative burdens. On the other hand, we saw through the ENVISION project that these services can offer, let's say, a roadmap for the other relevant stakeholders and policymakers in order to redesign the system and provide more accurate certifications, more accurate standards and rules, and better control systems. And of course, we are glad that through our project and all the relevant projects that are going to be presented today, that we, let's say, put a little bit more effort on the data availability and accessibility and the use in the agricultural sector, and assist the whole actions that are performing. Stelios, the chairman of Eurogeo Agriculture Action Group, will say more about this. So we saw what... I'm fixing. Yeah, everyone is happy, and we hope that our work will be continuously and after the end of the project through our collaborations that we have established during this work. A few things about our project. We are 13 partners. We have 3 paying agencies from Lithuania, Flanders, and Cyprus, 1 certification body from Serbia, and we have 3 service providers: NOAA, a National Observatory of Athens, Agraps, and Elvivo from Flanders, and 1 technological partner, Draxis. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Eugenia. Now we move on with the next project, which is Agribit. Mr. Giuseppe Vella, please.
Yes, good morning again, everybody. I'll try to be, say, more, my presentation will be higher level, because there will be also another presentation detailed about the status of the technological activities. I hope that you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay. So the Agribit project is a project that has a duration of 36 months, and started in July of 2021, and then we'll finish in June of next year, essentially. And is a project done by 8 partners, 1 large company, 1 research organization, 4 SME, and 3 end users that will support us in the piloting of the activities in order to create precision agriculture services enabled by artificial intelligence, whose information will be fused also with satellite imagery, and also with data coming from sensors on the field that will allow us to develop an advanced set of precision agriculture services. These are the high-level strategic objectives that are, as I said, higher precision location services that will allow us also to save resources in terms of energy, in terms of water for irrigation, in terms of time also into the analysis of the monitoring of the fields. The project will allow us also to identify a GNSS receiver that will be used for improving the measurements on the field for what concerns the sensors, but also for what concerns the prediction of that will be enabled by the precision agriculture services for farmers and farm advisors. We will develop essentially this set of precision agriculture services, first of all, for the end users that are involved with the CCTI from Portugal. And then there is also Agricolas from Italy and ACP Pellas from Pellas, essentially, that will do the test of these services. And thanks to RefSat that will develop and deploy the GNSS receiver, Agenso that will install all the part of the sensors on the field that are related mainly to weather station, to bixometer, and also to the possibility to have so all the improved measurements on the field related to the field boundaries, the static elements that are on the field, and also that will allow to create a set of services for the routing of the different means that are on the field, essentially. This will allow us, so as I said, to test all these services and to create a strategy for the uptake of such services for farm advisors and external farmers to the end users. And as we see, we have also opened our platform that are now at month 24 to the external world, essentially to do some feedback, to provide some feedback on the community platform, and also to have the access to the cross-platform visualization that will allow the users to test the precision agriculture services. In brief, this is the sort of logic architecture that will allow us to identify physical layer that is done mainly by the GNSS receiver, the sensors that are on the field, the sensors that are developed, as I said before, by RFSAT that will be related to the collection of data related to pollution on the fields. And all this information that will allow us to have directly data on the field will be fused with the Earth observation measurements for data coming from Copernicus, essentially from ENVISION and from LSAF and also from other satellites that will be allowed to that will allow us to do more precise, to have more precise information on the status of the field. Then we will use also some derived products like vegetation indexes, like soil moisture, and also we will improve the resolution of the measurements on the field by using the different GNSS receiver trials that we have done already on the field. The layer estimation and also the biomass estimation. In the end, we will have these two kind of services that will be, some of them will be directly on the field with a mobile phone that will allow us to collect all the information related to the field, and some other services that, thanks to the input received by the GNSS enablers, essentially will also provide all the data related to the field, as we will see also in the live demo. The upper layer is related to the artificial intelligence applied to these precision agriculture services, essentially that will provide in the end to the end users recommendation to farmers, information for collaborating directly into the Digital Innovation Hub, and a cross-platform visualization that will be the operational environment that will allow the farmers to monitor their field in the best way. There are 3 pilots. I will go fast. I think that I took, yes, in fact, I took for each pilot. We are already started by developing, as I said, the sensors, and in the end, we are starting in a progressive way collecting all the data coming from sensors and from Earth observation in order to essentially test a set of KPI different for each pilot in terms of for Greek peach orchards that is led by ACP Pellas. We have in the end, I position GNSS position under tree canopy that will be studied with the pilots, and also that has started with the drone flights that have been on site. Plus all the services that we have seen, the set of services that we have seen that will be validated in orchard cultivation. Then we have also the Agribit pilot in Portugal for tomato disease advanced alerts, and that will have identification of pest disease at growing time, identification of unhealthy plants during crop growth and fruitful period, and the correct delivery of correction measures, as we said, thanks to an advanced version of the GNSS receiver that we have already released. And then we have also the Agribit pilot in Italy, precision vineyards, that will allow us to identify the optimal period for harvesting, the identification of the phenological phase, and also will test the precision irrigation, essentially. Last but not least, this is architecture, so we don't have time. We will see the detail. Here, the team that has worked with the QR code that will be used to access the Agribit collaboration platform that in the end will allow us to monitor where the users interested that can ask for accessing also the cross-platform visualization that we will see in the further presentation essentially later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. Now it's the time for Callisto and Ms. Daphne Deliolani, please, to present from Draxis.
Yes.
Daphne, I cannot hear you very well. I don't know.
We cannot hear you, Daphne.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
A lot better, yeah.
Great. So, hello everyone, I'm Daphne Deliogdan.
Nice.
I'm from Draxis, an ICT company in Greece, and I will present you Callisto, which stands for Copernicus Artificial Intelligence Services and Data Fusion with other distributed data sources and processing at the edge to support DIAS and HPC infrastructures. Without further ado, what was the challenge we wanted to tackle? We wanted to increase the use of Earth observation data due to the fact that they have many benefits to many sectors. However, accessing and utilizing EO data is not an easy task. Why? Due to the vast amount of data, the heterogeneity, which causes practical problems in using Earth observation data, and also difficulties in accessing them, and also the necessity of experts to use and interpret them, which requires special knowledge and skills to be used. What we proposed was to utilize machine learning and data fusion technologies to combine Earth observation data from ONDA-DIAS with data from heterogeneous distributed sources. For example, crowdsourced data, videos from UAVs, and data from in-situ sensors. And the outcomes will be served to the public in interactive interfaces and mobile and mixed reality applications. Our overall goal was to bridge the gap between the DIAS providers and the data end users through artificial intelligence solutions. Here are some project facts. We were funded by the Research and Innovation Action Program from the Horizon 2020 initiative under the topic Big Data Technologies and Artificial Intelligence for Copernicus. Coordinator is Serco Italia. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us today. The project started in January 2021 and will end in December this year. It had a duration of 36 months. We are now towards the end. And we received approximately 4 million euros from the European Commission to carry out our work. Callisto has 22 key results, various tools, methodologies, models, that we have already delivered the first and second prototypes, and we are now working for the final versions. We have social media analytics tools, tools providing air quality measurements, mobile applications for CAP monitoring, a data repository, and so on. All these key results will be pilot tested in 4 pilot use cases. We have the Common Agricultural Policy Monitoring one, which is the reason why we are here today, and in which we aim to provide virtual monitoring of the implementation of the CAP obligations. We have a water quality assessment pilot use case where we aim to provide visual presence in water resources for water quality assessment using Earth observation and in-situ data. Satellite journalism, where we aim to assess the reliability of the news that environmental journalists receive about pollution events. And a land border change detection pilot use case where we aim to improve the existing approaches and increase the value of the current border surveillance services. Our consortium comprises of 17 partners from 7 EU countries and South Korea. We have universities, European agencies, and also companies. Here's a roadmap of the project. Like I mentioned, it started in January. Since then, we delivered the platform development roadmap, the first prototypes of our key results. We had a demo for one of our pilot use cases, one of the scenarios of the 2 that exist in this use case. Then we had the second prototype and also the second demo on satellite journalism. And now we are on month 30 of the project, where we have a demo for CAP monitoring, which was actually carried out last week, and I think George will present later on. And we are working towards the final system in September, which is due in September, and then we have 2 other demos until the end of the project. You can learn more about our project on our website, where we have also a dedicated page for a blog post where we describe all the work we are doing, and also on our social media accounts. Thank you. I think I took less than 5 minutes.
Thank you, Thank you. Let's move on with the Space for Green and Mr. Juan Pablo Garcia from ENVISION.
Yes. Let me share my screen, please. This one.
We see your screen.
So my name is Juan Pablo Garcia. I work for Integrasis company. My background is a PhD in telecommunication engineering, and I am the technical project manager of the Horizon Europe Space for Green project. Here you can see the index of my presentation. After introducing the Space for Green project and consortium, the main objectives, technical concepts, and use cases will be summarized. Finally, the current communication and dissemination measures are going to be explained. Space for Green is born as a response to the needed adoption of European GNSS solutions in mass market and within professional stakeholders under the Horizon Europe GNSS application for the digital age topic. As you all know, the European Union considers them key enablers of the current and future satellite European industry, contributing to the competitiveness and to the maximization of public benefits. Partners from 5 countries conform the consortium with a total budget of around 3 million euros. The project was selected among a total of 50 proposals in the call, and it started 7 months ago. These are the 9 partners of the consortium, which is coordinated by Integrasis. Integrasis is a Spanish company specialized in engineering and manufacturing of satellite spectrum monitoring systems for different telecom and service providers. With a global presence from Alaska to New Zealand, we are interested in interferences detection and cancellation in provisioning and in satellite positioning systems. The other partners are CIT, ACPELA, Gartine, ITC, AgroApps, Omnia, Andalusian Agri-Food Cooperatives, and the appellation of origin of Lucena. We have mostly 3 technological providers, and the other partners are very close to the end users and will lead the different demonstrations within the project. Now let's explain the Space for Green concept. The overall goal of Space for Green is to propose a technological solution that makes possible a trusted platform among stakeholders of different natures for the automated certification that an activity occurs in a location at a certain time, without requiring any third-party human certification. This implies ensuring the accuracy of time, position, and identity associated to the data handling process. The Space for Green solution builds upon the integration of European space technologies, Galileo, OSNMA, and Copernicus, jointly with blockchain and IPFS. Another technological pillar of Space for Green is an SDK to give a common framework for all demonstrations and to facilitate the development of future smartphone applications that could benefit from its innovations. The project aims at demonstrating the applicability in 2 operational scenarios composed by 6 pilots in total. In this diagram, it is shown how a smartphone app let the farmers bring georeferenced images or data and protect them with OSNMA and blockchain verification services. KSI blockchain is a private solution provided by Gartine. On the other side, OSNMA is a very young technology associated to Galileo. If the smartphone was not able to decode this information from the navigation messages, it could be implemented by an external OSNMA processing element. The Space for Green server is the link to the final consumers and to the IPFS network. Let's move to the use cases.
Yes, please, 1 minute. If you
Yeah,
try to
very quick. Yeah.
pack it. Yes, thank you.
Our first use case deals with traceable short food supply chains and has 4 different pilots. In fact, pilot 1.2 will have a separate slot in this event for the CAM monitoring tools within the Space for Green framework. Something similar applies to pilot 2.1 for calculating the environmental sustainability index of cotton production. It will be also deeper explained later on. Regarding the dissemination and communication actions, social media have been released at LinkedIn and Twitter. The website is available to keep you informed about the updates and the progress of development. And you can also see one of the practice abstracts that are being generated. We are happy with the increase of followers and relevance within the last month and a half. You can see here the progress. And we think it is a consequence of being active in posting and reaching the interested audience. So that's all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. And now we finalize this first session with VTGEOS, the last project, last but not least, with Mr. Raymond Fabregat from Eurocat.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting us. My name is Raymond Fabregat, and I'm from Eurocat, is a Spanish company based in Barcelona. And I'll present you now briefly the VTGEOS project, its motivation, and its goals. Can you hear me okay?
Please share your screen. We cannot see your screen yet.
You cannot see my screen?
Yes. We cannot see it.
You cannot see. 1 second.
Now it's being loaded. Okay.
You can see now? I just see the wrong.
We can see it, but okay, we see it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, okay. So yeah, my name is Fabregat, I represent the VTGEOS project. The main motivation of the VTGEOS project is the importance of the agricultural sector in the European Union and Europe in general, and then specifically the cultivation of grape wines. As Europe is the largest world's wine producer, and it's one of the biggest economical activities in Europe. Additionally, agriculture is responsible for a big impact in the climate and the climate change, and it accounts for more than 20% of CO2 emissions. So there is a big motivation to develop new practices to construct sustainable agriculture to reduce the impacts of climate change, etc. The VTGEOS project tries to or aims at tackling these problems by developing innovative tools for vineyards, by combining Earth observational services like satellite imaging with in-field practices and field sensors and artificial intelligence to manage all the data and make predictions. It's funded by the European Union, and it's made basically of 5 intelligent services, which involve the prediction of short and medium-term climate predictions, the prediction of phenology and production of the different parcels, disease monitoring, prediction and warning, sustainability tracking, and optimization of business and resources of the installations. The project consortium includes 9 partners from 4 European countries, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands. There are 4 research centers, 3 wine producers located in Spain, Portugal, and Italy, and 2 technological companies. Now, to finish briefly, I will, if you don't mind, show you a promotional video that we have with some animate animations to illustrate the services and capacities of the BTGF project. By the way, can you hear the audio of the video?
No.
No.
No. Okay, this is... And this might be a possible problem. Well, then it's possible it cannot be shown, unfortunately. So you can hear, you cannot hear.
No, we cannot hear it.
You cannot hear anything.
No.
You need to reshare, click on share sound. Okay, let me attempt one more time.
Or you can show it as when you have the VTGs, the presentation in the next section.
True. Maybe. Wait. Share sound. That's it. It's close.
The European Union is the largest wine-producing region in the world, with over 165 million hectolitres produced annually. Climate change, provoking a higher frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, threatens crops all around the world. On the other hand, more than 20% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide come from agricultural activities. This demonstrates why today, sustainable agriculture is more important than ever. The European-funded project VIDIGEOS contributes to the increase of sustainability in the wine industry by offering a platform for optimizing day-to-day field management. Based on the integration of Earth observations, combining satellite data and sensors in the field, the VIDIGEOS platform offers services providing advanced weather and sub-seasonal and seasonal climate forecasts, crop status indicators, phenological monitoring, disease warnings, crop water demand requirements, and a tool for managing business operations and sustainability assessment. VIDIGEOS aims to deliver a reliable decision support system to winemakers for smart vineyard management, supporting sustainable grapevine cultivation at an economic, environmental, and local level. The platform, being co-developed and tested in vineyards of 3 European wine producers, boosts vineyard sustainability and eases the industry adaptation to climate change. VIDIGEOS, striving for more sustainable vineyards and winemaking. This project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under Grant Agreement number 869565.
Okay, so with this, I would like to finish the presentation, and later Ernesto, my partner, will show you the platform in detail. And that's all, so thank you very much.
The European Union.
Thank you, Ramon. So we can go on to the next part, which is we will have the opportunity to have a deeper look into the outcomes of these projects. So we start with the ENVISION project. I'm inviting Mr. Kučinskas from the National Bank Agency of Lithuania to present us how we envision how we're monitoring multiple environmental and climate change requirements of common agricultural policy. So please.
Yes, thank you, Vasilis, for giving me the floor. So, hello everyone, my name is Aušrius Kučinskas. Okay, one moment. I'll just... So now I think you can see on the full mode, yes?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so if the slides doesn't change according to my speech, please let me know. Okay, so I'm Aušrius Kučinskas. I'm the participant in the ENVISION project, and I'm responsible at the controls in NPA, National Paying Agency in Lithuania. And here I will give a short overview about the products which ENVISION.
You changed slide?
No, not yet.
Okay, okay, because I had a stroke. Okay, sorry.
Now I changed, and but it doesn't change here.
It doesn't change.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are not using Zoom, so I have always problems with Zoom. Okay, I think I'll just do not on the presentation mode, but on
the
mode.
Editing mode.
Yeah. So just one moment. Yeah. Okay, so Lithuanian business case on the vision product. So our well, products which we need, it was related with the specific objectives like cross compliance, greening, rural development programs, climate and environmental requirements, and also for how to say new conditionality, which is replacing the cross compliance, because some of the requirements on the cross compliance are the same in the conditionality. So what we started together in the vision to create the products, so the same applies for the conditionality. Lithuanian area is 65,000 quadrat kilometers, and the services which was provided by our partners Nova to us under the ENVISION project is monitoring crop type, vegetation status, grassland mowing, ploughing, and soil erosion. Yeah, and soil erosion. And in Lithuania, we have almost 1.1 million fields, which were important to ENVISION platform and for which we get the result from the algorithms. So shortly about ENVISION platform. It's the ENVISION uses web-based platform, which paying agents can easily browse through declared parcels. The platform includes advanced search tools, compliance and potentially issue filters, and also an NDVI filter. Each parcel can be analyzed individually for more detailed relevant data by combining all existing functions. The resulting product turns into a fast and reliable tool for paying agencies. Also, mobile application provides an easy way to communicate between farmers and pay agencies, creating a platform for submitting an evidence from the parcel, and it's easy to use. And I remember on the Iphigenia slides there was more about these products. Now talking about algorithms. So we validated 7 algorithms totally. Grasslands mowing event detection, minimal soil cover, harvest event detection, cultivated crop type maps. We were validating according alpha beta calculation. So we calculated alpha beta mistakes, which is that logic is provided by GRC, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, related to checks by monitoring approach. So to this logic, we calculated the mistakes, and also for stubble burning identification, runoff risk assessment, and soil erosion. We cannot use this kind of the calculation, so we analyzed this data regarding to the layers what we have to our data, and with in situ data we also what we have. And totally overall reliability of the algorithms is 98%. So talking, going a little bit deeper, but not so in details. Here I want to show that there was a good and it is still a good collaboration with our partners in the ENVISION product. That in the first iteration for the grassland moving event detection, we have maybe not the best result. It was really okay, 98%, but there was some of mistakes, which is called beta, which means loss for the European Union funds. And the alpha mistake means too much on the spot checks, which you don't need it. So no risk for the funds, but expenditure for the pay agencies. This is just to know. So, and for the second iteration, there are no mistakes in this. And the total reliability was 100%. And of course, I want to stress that now I'm talking about the 2022 season results, and now it's 2023, and now the declaration period ends in Lithuania today. So from now, from JSON, we will get the results on recent weeks. So we don't have nothing to show about 2023 so far. Yeah, about minimal soil cover, it was pretty the same situation. On the first iteration, the result was pretty low, but when we looked at the mistakes and when we looked at what is the reason for this kind of uncertainty of the results, we found out that to have a good results, we need a very good image in November or October in Lithuania from Sentinel-2. So and not all the parcels could have it because Lithuania is a cloudy country, and we decided to make very less images when we need it to make it the result unknown, unconclusive. And now after that, the result was pretty good. And despite that, the parcels which received the result, the quantity of them was a little bit lower. About harvesting and detection, the same logic. First iteration a little bit lower, and when I'm talking about beta mistake, and the second iteration higher. Total reliability is 96%, so it's also really high. And yeah, now I will go to the details, but I just want to say that overall reliability is 97%, and it goes ups and downs a little bit. This when we are talking about different crop types. So here is the total list of 18 crop types, and I think you can go to the details after this meeting, because I shared the presentation with the organizers and we could share with you. This is just a short. When I mentioned about the validation, just I forgot to mention that we are collecting the data. In situ from the fields. So we are going in June to the fields and we are collecting what is there. Also, we are using Sentinels, and also we are going to see again on the fields or on the Sentinel what's happening if that particular algorithm is related to the moving to the action event. Yeah. And last things that I wanted to show, that we compared on the same sample the results from the Indiana project, from an ENVISION project, and from PAM. So it's our internal project. So the result differs, but not so much. And all the projects have a good result that is good to use, but just different methodics on all the projects. So, for example, the Diana project used only Sentinel-2. On ENVISION project, it's used on a combination of Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2, and on PMA, it's mostly used Sentinel-1 data. Also, yeah, this is comparison of all the results, and yeah, so all the projects, the results are good, just different methodics. And if you want to sell this thing to the market, to the paying agencies or all our customers, you need to think about the business case, how to make it cheaper, how to make the fast approach, and how to make that results went fluently to the paying agencies. So thank you very much. That's all from me. Sorry for not presentation mode, but hopefully you could see the presentation well.
Thank you, Arius, and we can go on with Agribit and Mr. Boskakis, who will tell us about how we can reach efficient, precise agricultural services being enabled by GNSS systems.
Thank you very much. I am Michael Boskakis, a software engineer for Agenso, an IT
and IoT, basically innovative company from Athens, Greece, and I will be presenting my screen shortly. Just give me a second. Okay, I believe you can see my screen right now.
Yes, we see.
Thank you. Well, since this presentation is about GNSS enablers, we need to discuss a bit about the whole concept of GNSS and its relation to Agribit. So I'm going to take a step back and take things from the top, let's say. To be more specific, in the third work package of Agribit, our partner RFSAT has produced a very high accuracy GNSS receiver that leverages the RTK technology. And right now it's in a mature stage of testing, and it's just only days before its final acceptance and deployment to the pilot sites. Here we can see, in fact, how it looks like, the connections it provides, and its rather low needs in energy, as well as its facade that is illuminated in this particular photo and provides some rudimentary information from the device itself as is. There have been a lot of tests done with the actual antenna that could increase the accuracy of this receiver. Our partners from RFSAT had to find the right balance between good accuracy and reasonable cost that will make the whole package attractive to the end user, the farmer. And this is one of them, connected to the receiver, while the other beacon that's visible on the white device is its Bluetooth aerial that is an alternate option to the USB connectivity that the receiver provides. Now, if I may get a bit more technical here, the device is quite portable. It's lightweight. As I said, it's usable over Bluetooth and USB. But most importantly, it supports RTK correction technology that brings the usual geolocation error of a, let's say, typical GPS device that has an error of about 5 meters in radius down to several centimeters. Thus, it allows Agribit to build on top of solid foundations for precision agriculture. I'm not quite sure about the options that the farmer can potentially acquire from this receiver, but it's worth mentioning that it's quite affordable. Now, back to the topic of GNSS enablers. It's worth mentioning that no matter how accurate or portable or easy to use a receiver might be, it ultimately just provides your location on the screen. So that in itself is not very useful, let's say, to the farmer or perhaps not many people, but we need to bridge a gap here. So I am moving on to what we call in Agribit GNSS enablers that basically bridge a gap between the geolocation accuracy offered by the device I just demonstrated and enable the user to extract some actual value for their agricultural operation while using those devices, along with some software that we call enablers in Agribit. Now, moving on to the next slide, I would like to mention that Agenso has built three distinct software components that house, or let's say accommodate the enablers in a different manner. For example, the light bar app that you can see on the leftmost part of the screen has a guidance element that is not an enabler in Agribit terminology, but also houses the route creation or route planning. And in a similar way, other apps incorporate other enablers as functionality that bridge that gap between the GNSS enabler and the rest of the value chain for the farmer. I would like to speak a bit more about those three software elements, which is just a focused look on the overall Agribit's intercommunication architecture. We basically have two Android applications that share data over a common backend, which we call user authentication and data acquisition service. The first app, called Demarcator, is mostly focused on the enabler of boundary extraction, that is, the ability it offers to the user to, let's say, lay out on the map the polygon that is their field's external boundaries, as well as integrate various other points of interest that we will talk about in more detail over the next slides. On the other hand, the light bar app allows the user to log in with the same credentials and fetch the same data, I mean, their own data that was recorded in the other app in order to proceed with other activities like route planning and guidance for those route traversals for any reason that they may find useful. Finally, the backend role is to also relay those data upstream to the platform that has been constructed by engineering that accumulates and integrates all the data from various sources, not only the mobile apps, but more on that on the integration part. So if we zoom out from this focused look on our architecture, we can better see Agenso's role over the greater scheme of things. So here we have the applications, our backend, and finally the service integration platform. Of course, it's also worth mentioning that for optimal operation, our applications need to be connected over Bluetooth typically to the GNSS receiver by RFSAT. The applications can provide some rudimentary mode of operation using their own onboard GNSS receiver, but that is not recommended as the accuracy of a typical smartphone is not enough for precision agriculture. But it's just there for demonstration purposes and testing. Here we see here the overall picture of Agribit and its architecture, the interconnection of all the components that comprise our technical solution. We can see that we have a lot of moving parts here, let's say, and we are just merely scratching the surface of what we offer in this presentation. For example, Agenso also is responsible for a network of in situ weather stations across our pilot sites, equipped with the soil moisture sensors. In addition, let's say, RFSAT, apart from the GNSS receiver, has actively been conducting drone flights, traversing the pilot sites, 3D modeling the changes of the crops over time, And quite interestingly, they have been in contact with AC Pella to devise a plan to predict threats to the peach orchards via visual recognition of those drones that traverse the field. Of course, there are many more input sources to the centralized platform. I'm only going to mention an example here. AgroApps has a lot of services that are based on Earth observation data and so on. Excuse me?
We're running out of time. Just
okay,
try to be so.
I'll go a bit faster. So
Yes,
the first enabler is about the basically recording the boundaries of a field. Its basic advantage is that it has a follow me mode in addition to the standard connect the dots and create a polygon method, let's say. That's a prerequisite for the next enabler, which basically allows the user to record points of interest on their field. And the most important part about that is that it allows the integration of previous generation devices that have no internet connectivity and effectively repurposes them to smart IoT devices. Again, the user can organize some parallel guidelines to serve as a route for future traversals from the other app. It's quite easy to use. And with that, we move to the GNSS-enabled services, which is a further layer of abstraction that builds on top of the GNSS enablers. One of them is provided by Agenso, and it pertains to guidance. So having set some guidelines, the human operator is corrected in real time about declinations and deviations, and they're being given a precise correction advisory. The main advantage of this application is that it's dynamic. It allows for the user to override the route during the runtime, and it does not rely on a predetermined, pre-calculated routes. The rest of the enabled services, GNSS-enabled services, are offered by our colleagues over AgroApps, and I'm going to present them very briefly here. So we have tillage scheduling and intelligent monitoring, irrigation scheduling, crop growth monitoring via Earth observation, early warning disease systems, and crop yield estimations, in addition to climate and the weather service for farmers. And perhaps most importantly, prescription mapping, which enables differential application of irrigation and or crop protection products in order to minimize loss and protect the environment by not squandering such resources. So thank you very much for your time. This is basically the gist of what I had to present. And if there is any time left, maybe some Agribit partners would like to chime in and perhaps add something that I missed. I don't know.
Thank you, Michael. I think that we can discuss it better during the demonstration part, where we have integrated three of the services that you have described. So in the end, plus the sensors, plus the data coming from the mobile apps. So I think that it was worth mentioning the GNSS enabler application, because we will not see there, but we will see the data that are integrated directly in the cross-platform visualization.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Zebe. And we continue with Callisto and George Humos. To exhaust couple, George.
Yeah, that's me. So give me a second to share my screen. Okay, so just if you could please confirm that you can see the full screen presentation.
Yes.
All right. My name is George Humos. I am a data scientist at the National Observatory of Athens, and this presentation is a brief overview of how, in the context of the Callisto project, we work towards the transition to the exhaustive monitoring of the Common Agricultural Policy. So the European Union is currently allocating more or less 30% of its budget to agriculture, and paying agencies across the member states are responsible to grant subsidies to the farmers, and at the same time perform CAP compliance checks as well. So these compliance checks have evolved through the years as they adapt to the availability of supporting technologies and data. Initially, the most common approach was what we call random sampling, in which around 5% of the farmers' declarations were randomly selected for on-the-spot checks. And for the rest, 95% subsidies were paid with no further check whatsoever. And then, since the advent of satellite data and the advancements in artificial intelligence, we had predictive AI models that are being developed, and they do crop classification, and their predictions are compared with the farmers' declarations, the LPIS data, which means that we come up with agreements and disagreements between these two. So now, on-the-spot checks, instead of being completely random, they are selected randomly out of the disagreements pool. So that's the smart part of it, and that's why it's also known as smart sampling. That's because they make on-the-spot checks more efficient. But this approach is still difficult to scale and to make the checks more frequent. So we have to take this to the next level. And what we do in Callisto is that we want to accommodate the transition to exhaustive monitoring. And to do this, we incorporate more data from heterogeneous sources coming from space and ground. And like apart from the satellite data, we also utilize UAV images and street level acquisitions. And in addition to that, we refine the artificial intelligence models. We use state-of-the-art deep learning architectures. We introduce edge processing, and we provide the set of tools that make the transition towards exhaustive monitoring more feasible. So I mentioned all these data sources, and it's worth saying a few words about the street-level images. So we have a framework of collecting street-level images in collaboration with CAPO in Cyprus, what we call the Callisto field campaigns. And through these, we use the current operational framework of CAPO, so it's easy to set up and it's cost efficient. And we have field inspectors that mount cameras on their cars. And while they're driving across the country for the checks, images are collected. And so far, we have acquired more than 700,000 street-level images, which mostly come from a single person. And these images, we are also uploading them to the crowdsourcing platform Mapillary. Now, to annotate these images, because we want to also add them crop type labels, we have come up with a transformation approach to the acquisition coordinates of its image. We will see a bit more on this later. The map here displays all the paths that have been covered by the field inspectors in Cyprus. And these paths that you can see are actually sets of points. And like you can see in this picture, and each point corresponds to a street level image. And each street level image is combined with LPIS data through a transformation to the acquisition coordinates in order to identify if it is an image of a specific parcel. So this whole approach of image collection and transformations made it possible for us to generate space-to-ground datasets. So we have space-to-ground coverage for the parcel of interest. And on the space level, we have Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 acquisitions, while on the ground level, we have the street-level images. So all these are pre-processed appropriately, and they can be combined on a single dataset, is what we call a space-to-ground dataset. Now, this is quite important because these space-to-ground datasets, they are not only utilized for training the deep learning pipelines to further improve the predictions. They are also possible to be utilized for photo interpretation purposes, for labeling, and also for dispute resolution. So you can see here an image of the DataCap platform in which these street-level images are visualized. And also we show various details. We have a map that is displayed that indicates on which point the image was taken, when, which parcel it depicts. We also see the declared crop type and the predicted crop type and other information. We are also continuously improving these images, and we are working on new version of the space-to-ground dataset, as we have a new pipeline that is also able to extract vegetation. So we have street-level images, and we're also able to extract specific classes of interest to us from each image. So that's all for the street-level images for now. But apart from the street-level images, we also experiment with UAVs to collect multispectral images. So you can see here the Callisto UAV, which is equipped with a multispectral camera. And in order for it to fly and to follow the paths that are needed, we have a path planning module as well that can accommodate two different scenarios of path generation. The first one is the coverage path planning, in which the area of interest that is provided is swept, it's completely covered. And as the UAV follows the flight path, it also automatically acquires images, which are then made available on the Callisto platform. But there's another path planning mode as well, which is the fast inspection. So instead of covering the whole area of interest, the UAV is given a number of parcels, so a number of areas of interest, for which we want representative images. So in this second path planning approach, the UAV can quickly visit the parcels that are given to it and just get representative images for them to be further evaluated. Another important component for us in Callisto is the Callisto mobile application, and it's crucial for the edge processing and for the decision making, as while the Callisto UAV is flying, the mobile application is receiving these images in near real time, and thus the inspectors can have a look in their mobile and easily take a decision on the fly. Okay, so I'm not gonna mention the details of the left, but on the right side, there is a high-level overview of how the framework of Callisto looks and how we attempt to achieve this transition to exhaustive monitoring. Focusing on the top part, we can see the data collection and data processing module. So all these heterogeneous data sources are being collected and pre-processed, and they become inputs to the deep learning module, which follows. We have the crop classification using deep learning, which leads to the generation of predictions, and the predictions are compared with the farmer's declarations. These comparisons leads to agreements and disagreements. So for the agreements, we usually don't do anything, but for the disagreements, now we have a set of tools in Callisto to further evaluate them. So we have the DataCap platform to further evaluate with street-level images. We have, if they're available, we have the multimodal search engine in which UAV images can be searched for areas of interest. And even if these are not available, we have the path planning module, which can generate flight paths for our areas of interest. And then we can fly the Callisto UAV and receive the images on our mobile phones in near real time. So now let's see a user journey within the Callisto platform.
It's 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes is enough. Okay, so okay. You will see in a red circle like where we are in the Callisto platform, in the Callisto framework, and on the blue circle you will see from where we get data. So the user logs into the Callisto platform, they navigate through the map to their area of interest, then they can load shapefiles with LPIS data, so they can see the farmer's declarations, color-coded polygons, depending on the crop type that has been declared, but they can also visualize the model predictions. So color-coded polygons according to what the deep learning models say. And of course, they can also visualize the agreements and disagreements. So you can see the agreements in green and disagreements in red with the different tones corresponding to different confidence levels. This also provides the ability to easily identify areas for on-the-spot checks because they have many disagreements together. Then they can see for which parts of it we have street-level images available, either on the main map or then through the DataCap platform, where they can see also further details. If the street-level images don't work, they can look for UAV images. If the UAV images don't work, they can shape an area of interest to generate flight paths, and then they can fly the Callisto UAV to collect images which are being sent to the Callisto mobile application, so they can see the images that are sent by the UAV and also other useful vegetation indices. And if nothing works, we can always fall back to the regular on-the-spot checks. And this is an actual field inspector performing on-the-spot checks in Cyprus. So this is a high-level overview of what we do in Callisto and how we attempt to achieve the transition towards exhaustive monitoring. So thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, George. And now we will see how we can actually assure environmental sustainability and actually how we can calculate sustainability. And I invite Space for Green and Mr. Manolis Loukakis from AgroApps to make the presentation.
Let's repeat everything. Hello, my name is Emmanuel Loukakis. I'm an agronomist, agriculture engineer, and I work at AgroApps, and I'm the head of the agronomist department here in AgroApps. I will be presenting the environmental sustainability indicator calculator, which actually is a tool that has been developed and is now being tested in the framework of the Space for Green. In order to, this will be a tool that will help companies be, let's say, more sustainably aware, climatically aware of the farming practices that are being performed by the producers in regards to sustainability. So this is an automatic calculator that exploits all the data that come from crop calendars that are collected by the farmers. The farmers actually register their practices, everything that they do in the field on farm, and then this is actually, and then they are scored, meaning that a score is produced. That this score helps in assessing the performance of the farmer in terms of sustainability. What was the motivation? Of course, we have consumers that are very concerned on social and environmental issues. We have consumers that have a growing interest regarding sustainably produced products, and of course, we have consumers that are willing to pay for a premium price or for an elevated price if they have eco-friendly products that are produced organically, or products that are environmentally friendly. These consumers may pay if they have the appropriate information to do so. And then again, all of this adds an extra burden to the shoulders of the agri-food enterprises, of the sustainability managers of the companies, because they have to pay significant attention to the mode of production of food. Of course, they need to monitor the production of food. This, for the time being, is being done by sustainability advisors and that collect all the data from the farmers by on-site visits, and this, of course, adds a financial burden to the companies. And of course, it cannot be automatically, or cannot be something that can be automatically collected. All the data cannot be automatically collected, and of course, this is a very heavy shoulder on the. This is a very heavy burden on the shoulder of the companies. But we don't have only the companies that need to be, let's say, climatically aware or aware in terms of sustainability. We have the new Common Agricultural Policy based on the new eco schemes and the strategic plan of the Common Agricultural Policy. The digitalization of agriculture is promoted, and then we need to have digital technologies in the hands of the farmers. We have the FAT, which is already in use in some EU member states, which is a digital technology focused on farmers and on practices that are sustainable. What if we had a tool that could, for example, score farmers or assess the performance of the farmers in terms of sustainability, even for the common agricultural policy? So this is what we came about, the solution of a calculator that will be an environmental sustainability calculator based on different sustainability indicators. So we have the sustainability indicators. We have two types of sustainability indicators, the pre-harvest and the post-harvest, which actually are included in the Sustainable Agriculture Code. The pre-harvest sustainability indicators or intentions, let's say, is the nature and biodiversity are protected, social concerns about farmers and farm workers' safety, pesticides and fertilizers, environmental concerns. Pesticides and fertilizers are used without harming the environment. Resources concerns, water availability and quality are protected. And of course, the greenhouse gas emissions are reduced. And then we have the post-harvest sustainability intentions. In the environmental sustainability calculator, we only see what happens at farm level, meaning that we have metrics for the assessment of sustainable farming practices. And the added value of Space for Green is that this all can be verified. For example, when a farmer is in the field and registers an action in the crop calendar, then this is timestamped and geolocated, and this is all protected by the Space for Green framework for the signal identification and to prevent any type of falsification of spoofing, for example, the position of the farmer or the time that they perform an action in their fields. Consider, for example, now at the time being, we have, for example, only farmers, individuals, meaning that they have mobile phones and they register an action in their crop calendars in their digital platform, for example. But then again, we may have machines, agricultural machines that record all the farming practices. For example, we have machines that spray, that perform spraying, or machines that perform tillage. And these are all recorded in the machines, and all this information could be protected by the Space for Green framework and stored in the cloud. And then this information could be verified by the position, in terms of position, and of course in terms of time. There is a plethora of data that is used in the environmental sustainability calculator. We have satellite images, we have soil data, of course, the crop calendar, because as you can see, the environmental sustainability calculator can capitalize and can exploit any kind of digital platform that is, for example, that is operational and is at the market. And it can only use, for example, a crop calendar. And then, of course, we have meteorological data, weather data, which are very important in order to, and all these are combined in order to assess the farmer's performance. So let's see one by one, for example, some of the sustainability intentions. Nature and biodiversity are protected and maintained, and this regards the soil resource. We, for example, we monitor the tillage practices that are performed by the farmer, and the time that the tillage is performed, any kind of tillage, and of course the day is compared to the soil tillage conditions. So the soil tillage conditions actually give an information about whether the soil has the ability or whether the soil is at a state that can be tilled. So we have different kind of conditions of good, bad, or average conditions, and these are the thresholds. The time that the farmer goes and makes a tillage is compared to the actual status of the soil. So this is a farmer gets a score of the tillage operation. Chemicals are applied without harming the environment, and of course the social well-being of farmers and worker safety. This is actually, this refers to the spraying. So when a farmer performs a spraying and then registers the spraying in the platform, then the time that they perform the spraying, or and of course the day, are compared to the spraying conditions. So there are different spraying conditions, for example, good, bad, or average, and depending on the time of spraying, a farmer gets a score. Fertilizers. In terms of
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the fertilizers, the fertilizing practice of the farmer is compared to the actual needs of the plants in order to achieve a particular yield. So we use the farm sustainability tool, and of course water is protected. We see whether there is an excess use of water for irrigation or not, in terms of the evapotranspiration of the crop. And then greenhouse gas emissions are reduced. We measure the greenhouse gas emissions, and then we compare these to average emissions per kilo of product. In summary, there are 7 different emission calculators. There are 7 different indicators of sustainability, which all exploit crop calendar actions. And then we have the interface, which is already developed, where the company, or of course the farmer or the agribusiness, can see the scoring of the farmer, the total his or hers or theirs total performance, and then this is all one by one. They can see the score, and then consider that for a consumer to have an environmental sustainability indicator side by side with the washing instructions in their clothes or in their food that they buy. So this was all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel. And we continue. And now we will see a presentation of the Agribit Service Platform by Mr. Tommaso Nicoletti.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, let me share the screen. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't prepare the presentation because we went to directly through the services, no? So we will have a live usage of the platform, the cross-platform visualization for Agribit.
Yeah, yes, because the site actually is online, and it's possible to log in as I made earlier. And yes, logging into the platform is possible to get the information with a dashboard. It's also possible to change the type of view. In this case, the users are grouped by organization. In this case means that Agribit user belongs to Agriculus organization. And within the dashboard, we summarize the most important information for the farmer. It is divided in 3 sections. The first describes a set of graphs that contains warnings grouped by type. This case, crop type, pest type, risk level. The second shows the last parcels that has been loaded into the system. And on the right, we can see, for instance, the overview of the whole parcels within the map. The parcels that, in this case, belongs to the organization. The third row shows the last action that has been made within the parcels, in this case, that belongs to the organization. Actually, for this organization, there are no activities recorded. Going into deep for the parcels, we can see the page that shows the list of the parcels. those that belongs to the groups or those that belongs to directly to the user. Is also possible going to the detail. We can appreciate the parcel borders on the map and to get the info that belongs to the map. For instance, the user, the organization, the last update where the parcels has been updated on the system, and the soil composition, and other useful information in rows, the crop list, the activity list, and the pest and disease early warning of the next days of the specific parcel. Given that furthermore, we can obviously modify the information of the parcel and add, for instance, in this case, we can add information regarding the crop that actually is ongoing on the parcel, and otherwise we can also set up the soil information that we get from the analysis of the soil, and that's all from the parcel point of view. Moving into the activities, as I said, actually for agricultural organization there are no activity, but switching to the user activities, we can appreciate the list of activities ordering time, and from the most recent to the less recent, and clicking on the detail of the activity, we can see where the activity has been taking place and other useful information. Regarding the analysis, we actually worked on precision agricultural services. The full operational system will have 8 precision agricultural services, but at the moment there are only 2, and the others are under development and will be released periodically. And the result of data integration is an engineering asset. And as you may appreciate from the web page, the services already are pest and disease early warning and yield estimation, and actually under the development there is the crop growth monitoring. The page shows the pest and disease early warning, giving the next day's prediction for pest and disease, and this is also shown in the legend of the graph. In this case, these are, for instance, those pest and disease. Okay, but also it's possible to get the data in terms of number through the table. A lower level indicates a low risk, a low number, and the opposite high number shows the high risk. The other precision agricultural services is the yield estimation. Okay, I need to change again the organization. From this page, it's possible to launch a request for an analysis to estimate the production of the harvest projected into the future for time ranges, for instance, of several years, for instance, 10 years. This shows the past request that has been processed, where the status column gives us the status of the estimation that has been launched with the additional info. And if we go to the detail, we can see the data of the inputs, such as the time window that has been defined during the launching, and the volume of the parcels. The graph instead shows, even if we have only those 2 values, give us the values for each index. So it is also possible, going back to the page, launch an estimation, giving an input, the starting date and the end date, and specifying the parcels or the parcel that we would like to gather information for the destination. The last page is the data source page. From this page, it's possible to create a data source endpoint to call from the sensors on the field, and from which the sensors could send their data. To create a data source, we need to specify a name, the type, for instance, the weather station or sense node, the parcels where the sensor is directly involved. From this page, obviously we can take URL where this data sensor needs to push the data, and from the detail is possible to get the data gathered by our system. And in this case, we can appreciate the last 7 days data source gathered, and that shows the data of depending on the current with the recorded data based on the sensor, for instance, temperature, humidity, soil moisture, and so on. Those data is fully time current of the last 7 days, and for me, it's on.
Thank you, Tomaso. Thank you very much. And
thanks, Steve.
We continue with, again, Space for Green and Cesar Diaz from and we'll see how blockchain and GNSS enablers are automating the process for managing the gap from farmers to public authorities.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us to ENVISION. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it in edit mode.
Sorry. Can you see? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, yes, we see this presentation.
Okay.
It is in edit mode, but it is okay if we continue like this one.
Okay. Thank you for inviting us to ENVISION. The outline is possible.
I try to maximize the main part.
The outline is. Can you see the presentation outline?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay.
Try to maximize the main part of the page.
The outline of presentation. Who we are, cooperative organized the Andalusia current challenge of the management of the CIP, how we process the CIP aid of our farmers, and what are the problems and how the Space for Green project can help to solve them. Agri-Food Cooperative of Andalusia is an association of cooperatives in Andalusia, more than 650 cooperatives and more than 291,000 farmers. Turnover of more than 9,400 million euros. Mere 5% gross domestic product in Andalusia. Surveys of the member cooperatives, legal department, technical department, research and development department, equality department, CIP8 management department, 80,000 application, and 50% Andalusia application. The new CIP 2023-2027, the new CIP which will apply from 2023 to 2027, lead to 3 general objectives: to promote a smart, competitive, resilient, and diversified agricultural sector, to ensure long-term food security, to support and strengthen environmental protection, including biodiversity and climate action, and contribute to achieving the Union's environmental and climate objectives, including commitments under the Paris Agreement. Strengthening the socio-economic fabric of rural areas. These general objectives are further broken down into 9 specific objectives based on the 3 pillars of sustainability, and complemented by a common cross-cutting objective to modernize the agricultural sector through knowledge, innovation, and digitization in rural areas. The new CIP, which will apply from 2023 to 2027, retains the essential elements of the previous CIP, but moves from being to policy based of the description of requirements to be met by the final beneficiary. The support to being a policy oriented towards the achievement of concrete results. The objective specifics, ensuring fair revenues, increasing competitiveness, rebalancing the power of the food chain, action against climate change, environmental protection, conserving the landscape and biodiversity, supporting the generational handover, living rural areas, food quality and health protection, discussing objectives, knowledge and innovation. And CIP processing in cooperatives, the current system is based on a complementary three-tiered process, an application calendar, and payment calendar, and a scheme to the verification of the submitted application, which, depending on certain characteristics, will pay or not. Processing timetable for a given year, the application of the aid that the produce request for the recognized entity as my entity, cooperatives, and made from February to May, but include included procedure. Then there is a period from June and September for the Junta de Andalucía, is the government, to carry out checks on the application submitted in order to subsequently resolve and possible incidents. Checks and carry out through monitoring. If there are no incidents, 70% of the total is paid in October and the remaining 30% in December. In the event that there are incidents, this will be resolved from November to March of the following year in order to be able to proceed with the payment, if they are satisfactory result. What is the monitoring? Monitoring is the procedure for checking the area 8 on 100 of the application. It consists of the continuous analysis of satellite image taking of all the areas declared in the single application, constantly and periodically every 5 days throughout the agricultural campaign. Monitoring is based on the information provided for the Sentinel-2 satellite. From a general point of view, the monitoring control procedure follow the following scheme: observation, Sentinel imaging every 5 days, automatic and semi-automatic interpretation, computer processing of information and analysis of results of crop plot level, result management, implementation of follow-up action to solve incidents and non-complaints, detect with the collaboration of the applicants and obtain failed information, the payment of the final result of each aid, scheme monitoring. From the analysis of Sentinel image and plot level, there will be some seats that comply with the aid requirements and will be eligible to payment green-black. Others that clearly do not comply with the aid condition and will not be eligible for payment red flag. And a set of sites with inclusive results yellow flag. For a variety of reasons of different nature and scope, red flag. For yellow and red flag case, applicants will have to take physical georeference photos to the reason in question. Monitoring incidents. We will talk about the possible risks they may be encountered when using the tool. We are referring to the reality that exists in the different places and situations where the tool will be used. what type of risks? Image with pseudo protection, and this event caused by the nearest crop, something caused interpretation errors leading to incidents. Image with adverse weather condition, rain, low and wind and heat fog. Poor coverage in the area of operation. The tool will always be used in the field where the crops are planted. Low level of digitation, which can cause added difficulties when working with the tool. Site and orography of the area of action. There are situations where we find a very large crop and it is therefore difficult to work in them. There are also cases in which the crop farmers are on very steep slopes, causing this difficulty. Time of use the tool. The time required to use the tool was always kept to a minimum. Currently, there is tool for monitoring SGA faults. Pilot motivation. Sorry. Facilitate the control of the incidents generated in the control of CIP application. More importantly, the incidents can be greatly reduced, such as avoiding delays in payment or avoiding the collapse generated in the management campaign. There is indirect motivation, which is become an important motivation because little by little the agricultural sector needs to increase in the digital code. What is the space for solution? Is effects of an operation of the application with offline capability, pictures to include verified in the information of position and time, picture repository, generate query layers to check delimitation, high resolution image to differentiate physical characteristics of crop, young or newly planted crops, extra documentation, repository, verification of organic cultivation. The sync and roles from the point of view of the farmers of data provide and verified as data consumer inside Android app as service site. Plan and key dates. Currently, Space for Green solution has been designed. Implementation and integration are ongoing. Planning of CIP pilots, June 2023 to September 2023. Demonstration phase, March 2024 to October 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cesar. And the last presentation, the second part, is a presentation by Vitizius to see the solution.
Okay.
So please, Ernesto Martinez.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm going to share now the screen, and please let me know when it's through.
There is still the other presentation.
Okay, now it's there.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, good. Let me put. I'm going to, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to call my colleague Raimon, who is going to introduce. He's going to give a brief demo on the business capabilities of this site. First, I'm going to introduce the application, but he will end up with a business case. So Vitigeos is a solution that is designed for the wine industry in Europe. And I'm going to recap from the points that my colleague mentioned on the different services and how we manage to interact those services into one system, which supports the industry and the sector to make it more resilient and sustainable for the future to come. So here are the different 5 services which are embedded into the system: the weather and climate forecast, phenological monitoring, crop status, disease management, and resource optimization and sustainability indicators. The strength of this system is that we are reusing different types of intelligence services, which are with different services in order to add on and improve the type of the type of services that we are delivering. For example, phenology monitoring is using the weather and climate forecast, and also in our case, we are using the weather and climate forecast in order to provide forecasts on water consumption. So this is one of the views that the end user gets to see. For example, this is a short-term weather prediction for the next 3 days, every 3 hours. So the end user is going to see per field what is going to be the forecast. And also what is interesting is also to have the possibility to have a subseasonal and seasonal forecast going from the coming 4 weeks up to the coming 3 months. And with that, the end user is aware of what he's expecting in the coming weeks and months. The phenological gives the possibility to see a forecast of 6 phenological phases throughout the growing season. And with this, he will be able to provide and mitigate actions according with the different growing seasons. And in order to do that, it makes use of satellite data, weather stations, weather forecasts, and cameras installed and drone flights, cameras installed in the field and drone flights carried out and performed throughout the growing season. All that kind of information goes into the decision model and provide phenological stages. The crop status is mainly EO oriented. So this is, we are using different sources of satellite data, Sentinel-2, AB, Landsat 9. We are using also GEOS in order to provide and calculate our state-of-the-art models to derive, for example, variables like evapotranspiration, potential evapotranspiration, biomass production, leaf area index, vegetation index, nitrogen content, and crop water demand at a spatial resolution of 10 meters every week, which is the data that we provide throughout the growing season. This is, for example, a screenshot of the evapotranspiration throughout the growing season for one of the fields that we're monitoring. Then for the disease, we are using mechanistic models, statistics, and AI models in order to calculate what is going to be the forecast of mildew for vineyards. And this information results in an advice for the farmers. And for the business case, we provide a support system to track and help them to decide what is the best decision in order to carry that actions into the field. And the sustainability is provides a set of sustainable variables which the end user will be able to monitor how he's attached with particular key performance indicators on sustainability or sustainable aspects. Being that said, I just want to go to the platform. Please let me know when it's through.
Yes, we see.
You see this the platform now. So this is what the end user gets to see, and this is one of the farms. So here you see different traffic light signal. So gives you an idea where you need to you need to pay attention, because this, of course, this field is underperforming. Here the end user can go through the different variables, how the evapotranspiration is behaving. Also, it allows to have a field information. For example, here you can see the field properties of this particular field, the data components that we deliver. So also the information numeric is being displayed here. The phenology here is fetching data from the intelligence service providers on the coming phenology phases. So you see here the next one is going to be the 21st of July for this particular field. The disease management will provide actions on down mildew and powdery mildew for the coming days. And the sustainability is information that compiles with the standards of the end user is producing for example, particular productivity, business management, and use of products and resources. Also, the end user can go to the weather and climate and see, for example, in the short term, how it's behaving for the coming hours. When you look at the maximum temperature, for example. When you look at the subseasonal, it will allow you to look at the, let me see, at the coming, what is the forecast for the coming weeks, and the same will happen for the coming months. So this is in a nutshell is most of the services being offered, and I will give the opportunity to Raimon to give also a presentation on the business case. Raimon, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, please.
I show you now. It will be brief and simplified, so I don't take much time. I don't confuse you too much. Let me share the screen. Voila. Can you see?
Perfect. Perfect.
So this is the optimization and business planner service, as Ernesto was saying, and essentially it's a standalone platform to create scenarios of to planify tasks in your installation, or it would be a help for the manager to improve the efficiency of resources and cut costs and explore possible different planifications of how to execute different daily tasks that you have in your installations. So, for example, here we have an example. The final result is a type of a Gantt chart where you have calendar, different tasks, and when should be executed. The color indicates which work team should execute each task. So we have a set of work teams that can do different tasks. So the tasks are assigned to different work teams, and it tells you which they should be done to optimize the resources. This is a general approach that can be done for very different scenarios. Here we have an example from a real world scenario where we have to perform soil cleaning tasks in a set of parcels. Here are the soil cleaning tasks. Each task can be characterized to define its properties and its priorities. And we have a set of work teams which represent tractors which are different models with different capabilities and different costs. And so at the end, the platform allocates the resources to optimize how these tasks should be done in order to do them as fast as possible, to cut, to minimize the economical impact, and also to reduce the environmental impact of the execution of the tasks. And I will not go more into detail, so I will not confuse you, so that you can have an idea of what is the capabilities of this platform.
Thank you, Ramon. So this is the purpose of the goal of our project and the platform that is currently being used by the end users in Spain, Portugal, and Italy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. And now we are entering the last part of our discussion and of this event. We have actually the honor to have here with us Eurogeo as well as Mr. Garvinko from the European Commission. So it is good to have a broader view on what is about the future for Earth observation and CAP and agriculture. So Stelios Kotsopoulos, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vasilis, for the introduction. My name is Stelios Kotsopoulos. In my everyday life, I'm working as the R&D director of AgroApps, but for this year, I'm honored to be the chairman of the Eurogeo Agriculture Action Group. This is a coordinated activity that has the scope to gather all the different projects funded by the European Commission on the sector of Earth observation, and of course, in general, in GEOS, and they are making environmental observations, and to coordinate and to see from what has been already developed through this European funding, how it could be served, the bigger goal that it is to contribute to GEOS, and of course to provide for the European Union the leadership on this sector. when I was talking about with Iphigenia and also with Vasilis what it should be about this presentation, we said, okay, we do not need something to be very technical. Perhaps it should be something focused in common agricultural policy. But what I realized is when I'm talking with a lot of people, they do not know the exact definitions of Earth observation, GEOS, CAP, and how all these three parts are interconnected. So I prepare a presentation where I will start the introduction with make more clear these definitions. And then I'm going through a journey, a high-level journey on how these data and these coordinated actions have already helped, first of all, the common agricultural policy to evolve all these years, and of course, how they are helping in general the agri-food sector. And I'm closing the presentation with the question, what will the future look like and what we should expect? So from the introduction, Earth observation, usually when someone is hearing from Earth observation, and because the European Union was promoted at the first, the Copernicus missions, where they are satellite missions, but also we have the Copernicus services, that they are other types of data, mainly from models and process data, from the observations coming from the instruments that they are in orbit. Always they are saying, okay, remote sensing, oh, we are talking about satellites. It's not only about satellites, it could be a weather station that measures the atmospheric conditions in one place. Buoys also measuring the vertical humidity and temperature and wind distribution in the atmosphere, and of course also with drones. So everything that is observing Earth, it is considered Earth observation. And there are a lot of different observing systems that they are observing the environmental states in several different places. But many of the shocks that they are disturbing and disrupting our everyday lives, unfortunately, are not closed in specific boundaries. They are global. So climate crisis, for example, is a global issue. COVID-19 and the shocks that produced is a global issue. Also, some regional geopolitical conflicts, like the Russian-Ukraine war, has global implications. So, for this reason, there is GEOS, which is the Global Earth Observation System of Systems, that is an organization that his scope is to coordinate all these actions with different observing systems and to provide with a constant, on a constant way, with specific protocols, data that will be shared to all of us in order to observe, of course, our planet, and also to use this data to make our operations more efficient, not only in agriculture, but also in other sectors. For the Common Agricultural Policy in the European Union is the main policy instrument that ensures the food security and food safety in the European Union, but while on the same time is preserving the environment and also maintaining rural economies. Using different funding schemes actually is guide the farmers on how to produce. And it's not only for open field agriculture, but is cover all the aspects of the agri-food industry. So how agriculture is, and the Common Agricultural Policy is connected to Earth observation and GEOS. If you see the latest Copernicus market reports, agriculture is the biggest consumer of this information. So many of the actors of the agri-food sector are consuming this data by feeding their tools to help them make more informed decisions. In general, the role of FEO and GEOS in agriculture, it has to do with different aspects. In the field, is helping farmers to make a better planning, to help them in their everyday decisions, when to go to seed their plants, when to irrigate or to apply tillage. Also providing other information regarding the crop status and crop monitoring, and trying to make estimations with this data, what we have to expect for specific crops, what we are expecting from yields at the end, that, as we see later, it will be the main, let's say, component that ensure the food security. Also, these instruments are offering us the opportunity to estimate the damage that we are having in cultivated areas. If you remember, 1 year before, on the Russian-Ukrainian war, we have some satellite images showcasing the impact of the war in arable crops in arable areas. So we have an early warning about that something is happening in Ukraine. We will not have the the wheat that we were expecting to cover the needs, the global needs in wheat consumption. So it could be something that leads to food security. Also, there are the cross-compliance and the eco schemes, where the same data are used, as we saw from the previous presentations, from the paying agencies, in order to see whether the money, the European taxpayers' money that are going to the farming, how the farmers are using this, and if they are following these rules or not, in order to produce sustainable, and of course with the targets that the European Union has set regarding the green transition and the zero carbon economy on 2050. There are some other actions, not so common, for identifying unauthorized actions in the field. Some of them, it could be illegal abstraction, water abstraction, in areas like in Greece, or in South Italy and in southern Spain, where in drought periods, there are some restrictions on the water use. So we can use this data to monitor whether some of the cultivations irrigated or not, and if they had the right to irrigate or not. So, beside the everyday farming operations and what we are seeing in field, there are some other aspects of how this data are affecting the global markets of agriculture by providing information, first of all, for the market actors to know what they had to expect on terms of production, if there will be some shortage to something, and of course to help from the other side the policymakers to take the correct decisions to mitigate these effects. Something that is more obvious in the part of food security and stability, where having this information from Earth observation, we can have early warning systems that something is happening, happens somewhere, and this could raise the prices. And from the other side, the policymakers and all the actors, not only the policymakers and the governmental agencies, but also from the industry, to take all the necessary actions to mitigate this price volatility and produce stability. Because at the end, always the issue is how to balance the offer and demand. And this is something that is more obvious on Earth observation for the agri-food chain, where in this case, it's not only the Earth observation data, but also data that help us to track the different products. So if you see both in Agribit and in Space for Green, in these two projects, there is a combination between GNSS signals for the correct positioning along with Earth observation. Of course, in both cases are dealing mainly in the field without taking into account post-harvest actions, but the same data, it could be used from the one in the field to help farmers to make better application of precision farming techniques, and also to help them estimate better their yield, to manage their resources, either has to do with nutrients or with water, and of course to make a better financial planning that it will help them in order to balance the offer to demand without losing any of their income. From the other part is the post-harvest processes, where it's, of course, how to transport these products from the fields and to go to the industry, and from the industry to go to the supermarkets and at the end in our tables. And also it helps us to see the conditions that these are products are transported in order to identify early enough some risks regarding food safety. So making a recap, actually how all these are contributing, we said that at the farm level, it's very obvious what how is helping farmers. In the market, the same. The policy making is revealing data and give insights about the status of the environment, the status of the climate. So these two actions are very connected with the Common Agricultural Policy and the green transition, is offering early warnings in order to avoid famine and also issues that could be revealed in food security. Also, it helps the financial institutions and the farmers and the whole market to make a better financial planning and resource allocation. It helps a lot on the insurance sector because here in the European Union, we have a very big safety net for the farmers and for the rural economy. So if something is happening in an extreme weather event happened in Greece, for example, or in some other EU member state, the impact would not be so tough for the farmers in economical terms as it would be in somewhere else, like in Latin America, Africa, or Asia. And of course, the post-harvest tracking, that it helps us, first of all, to monitor if we are comply with the emission and what will be the carbon footprint, not only from the production, but also with transport and actually processing these products, and of course, to avoid some food safety risks. What will the future look like? This is an infographic. Some of you, you know it because you were part of the consortium of the project called RECAP. RECAP, it was passed on 2015, where it was described an integrated platform that is composed by a workflow system collecting all these different data from remote sensing, user-generated data from smartphones, geotag photos, as we saw in Callisto, other data coming from the bureaucracy related to CAP, and the main target was to serve the public organizations, paying agencies to use this information, and also to help farmers providing digital information in their fields, and of course the agricultural consultants and others that they want to develop applications based on this system. What I see the last 8 years is that this was a concept, and it produced some good results. But what I saw, it was very early, and we didn't have the technology to make everything that we have conceptualized back then. And now we have AI, and you will say, okay, in all the projects that we saw, they are using AI algorithms for classifications, for boundary identification, for everything they need. They use deep learning, but I'm talking about generative AI. Generative AI, where now is an open research topic, where, as far as I know, the European Space Agency and I think also the European Commission is investing on how the generative AI could be used in Earth observation in order to provide a better interpretability of the images acquired, and of course, to make a fusion with all these different data sets. Data sets coming from the bureaucracy, as I said, that it could be invoices of buying some other stuffs. Also, the connection with different farm management information systems and crop calendars from the farmers, providing directly the information, and of course, the satellites and the other instruments that they are offering the environmental information. I don't know if at the end it will reveal patterns and which type of patterns, but for sure it could be something, a revolution in the area of agriculture, as it will be for the whole economy. And I believe that we made the first steps to make a legislative framework to avoid any risks regarding generative AI, and I think that it will be for good. For sure, we are living in very interesting times. And before I say a big thank you for the invitation and for the organization of the whole event, I would like to draw your attention to the EuroGeo workshop that will be held on in Bolzano between 2 and 4th October. I will be happy to see you all there. And in any case that you cannot be available to travel to Bolzano, it will be a hybrid meeting. So if you register, I believe that you will have the opportunity even online to participate. And I will be very glad to hear your opinions regarding the EuroGeo and how it will be helped this coordinated action for the agricultural group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stelios. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And now we can go on with the discussion. I don't know if you have any questions that some of you want to make. I would like to make a question to not to specific speaker, but to the whole audience, more or less. I have this consideration about market take-up of all these services. We understand that this is a European need. However, it seems that it's not so easy to say that it is a European market. It is a European market, but for a specific operator, for a specific provider, it seems that it's not so easy to address the whole European market, because from member state to member state, we have different levels of deployment of the CAP, different types of deployment, different types of crops, different types of farmers, different categories, different types of parcels, as well as different levels of, I would say, literacy of the farmers in using new technology. So these are too many factors to manage if you are a commercial, let's say, organization, a commercial management, that need to take a decision to address the whole market, the whole European market. So it might make it difficult to address the European market as a whole. So I raise this question: is this an issue that is making the business plan of for each of you, for each of these wonderful services, more difficult, or finally the way to get all these services in operation, in the production, will be through national bounded, let's say, markets and public opportunities, public tenders that will motivate these services to become to reach the end user. So this is a concern I personally have. So I would like to hear also your views. Anyone who can express his view on this.
Yes, Stelios?
Yes, thank you, Figenia. Thank you, Vasily, for this question. Actually, to be frank, I will put now my other hat of the R&D director of Agrabs. And as a company working with farm management information systems in commercial the last 4 years, I would like to share our experience with you here in Greece. What we are dealing, actually, Manos and his team is dealing every day with the farmers. So from the one, there is, let's say, from a high level, there is the European Union and the member states that they are offering the infrastructure of having access to this data, having access to this data with low cost, and of course, giving you the ability to build all these nice services. There are some services that are independent on from the crop type, the cultivation practices, and the pedoclimatic conditions. For example, I saw that from the viticultures, they are offering sub-seasonal to seasonal forecasting. So it is something that it could be provided horizontally in the whole European Union market. There are some other services, especially those for pests and diseases, that they are very tied with the crop type, with specific pedoclimatic conditions. And of course, these services are more difficult to scale up. Something that is working here in Greece. I'm not sure that it will work in Spain in different climatic conditions. And if we are talking about yield estimation, something that is quite tied with the agricultural practices that they are following, something that is working in Germany, most probably will not working in Italy or in Lithuania. But I think the main problem is how we can, our main issue, let's say, is how to convince farmers. Before 4 years, when we were going out to the fields and talking with the farmers, presenting the services, this will help you to consume less energy through the irrigation system that you are using. If, for example, you are following our advice on pests and diseases and spraying, you will reduce your costs for pesticides and insecticides. And at the end, they were quite skeptic. And it was something physical because for them, they didn't have in the previous years access to this data. They were not educated on how to use this data, and no one demonstrated to them that this data will be useful and how they will help them in their everyday activities. It was like the tractors before 100 years, when they have to change the way cultivating their fields. For them, it was something new, but instead, it was not data. It was something that it was materialized. It was a tractor. It had 4 wheels, an engine, you can hear the sound, everything. So it was more easily for them to adopt this technology. For us, the issue was that we bring this technology to their fields, and we told them without using anything, there is a satellite that is flying in sun-synchronous orbit, so it is not visible to your eyes, not even at night, of course, because it is a sun orbit, the height of light. And of course, you are downloading the data. The data are processing in cloud, somewhere in cloud, and now this is the result for your field. Imagine this. This is very difficult. First of all, to understand the type of this information, and then to say, okay, this will help me. So we need to spend a lot of time and money in order to convince them that this will help them, and also to train them in order to understand what they see with the data in the application, and to make the visual correlation in their heads. What I'm seeing in my computer, yes, I saw the same in the field. So this is meaning.
So they need to believe it instead of seeing it as a big brother in their fields.
Yeah. Yeah, for them, we heard everything. Manos, it could tell you a lot of stories of what we heard from the farmers and what we're still hearing from them. The only, let's say, the good news is that after 4 years, we saw that because also there is the policy aspect of the new CAP that is pushing the usage of this kind of services. So the farmers start hearing, and they say, okay, something it could be working. And of course, when you spread this information mouth to mouth, because someone is using this and the cost is very low and the gains were more, I think that this is creating a trend that it will be bigger in the next few years.
Thank you, Stelios. Is there any other point on all these concerns? I can say that we're a little bit late also with our agenda, so I do believe that if there are no other questions, we can end up with meeting.
Thank you, Vasilis, and all the other projects that organized this meeting. And I hope that we will meet soon.